Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kingdom Connection. It is your dynamic duo, Alan Williams, and I'm joined by Tyler Bowles. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Just loving the Lord, loving life, man. It's good, man. It's good, really.
If that ain't on a T-shirt, it needs to be.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. It probably is. That's probably where I got it from, or a bumper sticker or something. Right? Right next to my child is bumper sticker or something. Yeah. Right. Hey, we hope everybody's doing all right out there. Once again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Ask that you just share this with somebody. Comment, like, subscribe. Whatever the buttons are there, the whatever, we can
click the notification bell.
Notification bell. There you go.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so every time our these two faces come online, you get a reminder, and you can tune in.
That's it. That's it.
All right.
See our pearly whites and our beautiful faces.
I didn't say all that. Now, I didn't say all that. But anyway, I was thinking today, I've seen it a lot lately, and I know that I've done it myself, but it seems to be that people are, the old saying is, walking on pins and needles this day and time, seems like.
Yeah.
And so the word, here we go, trigger warning. Oh, really, that's what I want to talk about. Triggered, being triggered, right? Being triggered. And what I mean by that is, it's almost like we walk around with a bomb strapped to us, just waiting to blow up.
Yeah. I've never heard it put that way, but yeah.
I don't know. Again, I am who I am, so that's just my terminology.
Well, no, but yeah, that's very much the truth. Very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't. Sometimes we let things maybe, or situations in our own life pile up on us to the point that we go out with that that trigger on us, that just, it doesn't take much. The first time somebody says a crossword or disagrees with something you said, it's like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's amazing how we live in that time. I see it more, let's put it that way, now than I used to. But just somebody says something you disagreed with or whatever, and I've had people do that to me, and I'm like, whoa, I did not mean that. And it wasn't really because I had done something that wrong. It's just because maybe they had all that on them from earlier that day, didn't get up on time, or didn't get enough sleep that night, or got in a fight with somebody yesterday on the phone, or
I feel called out. That's what
right. Well, no, I mean, we've all been there and done that. I mean, there's mornings, and it's humbling when somebody comes in the office in the morning, they're like, are you okay? And instead of good morning, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of like, is it that obvious? And then I have to go back and recheck. I'm like, whoa, these people are just walking in the door. They ain't had time to do anything. And I'm just blowing up left and right.
My bad.
Right. And I know I'm the only one that happens to, right?
Yeah. I mean, it don't happen to me. Like that. No, not at all.
But I do feel like that sometimes, that, man, and sometimes in those moments of just blowing up, we can say things that will alter relationships forever.
Yep.
Right?
You can do things to totally destroy what you've taken your whole entire, like you're talking about on the job. Right. You can do things that you've taken your whole entire career to build up. You can destroy it in a matter of minutes.
Right.
Just based on however you respond when you blow up.
Right.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it goes back to trying to figure out a way to word it so that it doesn't come across as super harsh, because we know me and I can be blunt. It's a thing of being able to control the tongue. I'll word it that way. Right. It is really a thing of being able to control the tongue.
True.
And I mean, even the Bible says that the power of life and death
is
in the tongue.
Right.
And so you can totally lose it. You can lose control of it, and you speak death into things instead of speaking life. And there's so much power that it's in what you say.
Oh yeah.
That's why we can decree things, we can declare things, but you can also curse things.
Right.
So you got to be very careful about what you say.
Right.
And I know a few years ago, the phrase like, I'm triggered. It almost got under my skin because I'm
right.
Because everybody used it for every little thing, and they would use it as a crutch to feel a certain way, make you feel like you're the bad guy.
Right.
And so they use it as like a way to play victim.
Right.
And that is true, but it's also very much a thing of setting off, like you said, setting off a bomb. I'd never heard it said that way, but visually that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I'm telling you, some of the times I've seen it in just the very present time. The most present examples of that in my memory, it has been a bomb. Believe me, it wasn't a gunshot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just... Whew.
Well, man, because you get so much pent up too. It's just the straw that broke the camel's back. I've found that with stuff like this, it's been going on for a while. It's not an isolated incident.
Yeah,
and they've just every man or woman's got their limits.
Yeah, and you feel like sometimes, like, man, I don't know who did you wrong, but whoa, you know, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
And then they blow up on the person that wasn't even part of whatever that was to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been the one blowing up at people. I'll just be honest.
Me too. That's what I say. Yeah.
Yeah. When you ask me, I'm the only one. Just in case people didn't catch my sarcasm. No, you're not the only one.
No, I know that.
You're not the only one.
And it is. It's common that we do that because we're trained to put on our game face, right?
Yeah,
and smile and wave.
Well, and especially us as men too.
Oh yeah.
As far as like the ticking time bomb aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
Because it's almost like as men you're fighting, or at least as if you have like an alpha male personality,
right?
You're gonna try to fight to be that alpha.
Yeah. And
so if one person blows up, a lot of times it's going to set off another person.
Yeah. Right.
And then before you know it, you got to fight in a parking lot.
Oh, yeah. and I can speak for us. I can speak for me. And I'm sure most men is that, if we feel the least bit like we don't have control, we lose control.
Yep. That's it. That's it. So my thing is, and something that I'll be honest with you, I don't totally have an answer for, but I'm curious to see what your thought process is. How do you handle those moments? How do you prevent those moments? Because a lot of times you don't see it until it's like you said, people are just coming in to work and they see you and you're like, man, have I really not hit it that well? You don't see it until something's already happened.
Right.
So how do you keep yourself from getting to that point? Because I'll be those who know me know that I'm very hot-headed, and I don't mean to be. And I've blown up on people and had to go back and apologize.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. I'm still trying to find the remedy. So what says you? I mean, what are some things that I personally can do to kind of reel that in a little bit?
Well, I can't say that I have all the answers by no means, but I really think that one thing that we can do is you got to take care. I think instead of cleaning up the mess, prevent it from happening to begin with by going back. In other words, like not letting things build up, and that's hard for us as guys. It really is, because sometimes we feel like we got to have it all together. We can't let anybody know that we don't have it all together. But you need those moments, even. Start off with prayer and take it to God, and the Bible says for us to cast our cares on Him, right? And so I think that we need to go to Him, and for one thing, and number two is just being honest, and saying, hey, I need to get rid of some of this pressure. I mean, and just not carrying that in. I heard a story one time, and you may have too, but like working on the opposite end of that of coming home and had a bad day at work, and then all of a sudden, something happens at home, it triggers you, it ends up being a big argument, you end up in the doghouse.
Yeah.
Or even worse, unfortunately, for couples, because we don't know how to distinguish between the two. And, I heard a story one time, and I've heard it, I think, on a few occasions, but talking about how men had a tree on their house, and they would go out there. Little boy watched his dad every day. He'd go to that tree before he come in and act like he was hanging something on it. And the boy would run out there. There was nothing on it. And finally he asked his dad, he said, "Dad, what are you doing at that tree?" And he said, "I hang that side, that work life, that stress, that I hang that stuff on, those problems on that tree before I come in here. I don't bring them in here." And he said, "When I go out in the morning, I'll pick them up. And they're usually lighter than when I went in." But he said, I have that separation. That maybe for you, it's the ride home. Like, you had a rough day. You can sit there and simmer over it and get even madder in traffic. Or you can take that time to kind of say, I'm gonna focus on God for a little bit. I'm gonna, unwind from that a little bit, so that I'm not carrying that stress home. And it may be the same way at work too. It's just that, praying on the way to work, whatever that may be, disciplining yourself and just getting in a routine of doing something to help get some of that off of you so it doesn't build up.
Sure.
Long story short. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
That's my advice to myself,
Yeah. No, that's good. Absolutely. Something that I've found that has helped me, most of the times when you get mad, the last thing at least me, the last thing I want to do is like go turn on worship music.
Right.
But I'm telling you, it definitely works wonders.
Right.
Because just like with the power of death and life being in the tongue, the very things that you listen to also will prophesy and will speak things into the atmosphere.
Right.
So, when you're having a bad day at work, but then you're listening to songs that they prophesy and they testify to the lordship of Jesus.
Right.
And they talk about all the great things that he can do and how he's a provider and he's a restorer. And, I've found that after a few minutes of that, I'm like, what was I even mad about?
Oh, yeah. Getting lost in worship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I have to make myself do it. I'll be honest. Like when I'm mad, the last thing I want to do is like go turn on elevation worship. Right. A lot of times, like if I'm mad, I'll just sit in my car and like, if I wanted to do what I really wanted to do is I just sit with the radio off and just simmer, and it just makes it worse. Like you said, so that's worked for me. And you were talking about preventing it before it happens.
Right.
That would be the time where you'd want to have difficult conversations with those people. Shameless plug. If you hadn't listened to those episodes, go back and listen to them. They were a good while back before we started doing video. It was just audio.
Archived now. Right?
Yeah, that was like what? Maybe our second and third, because it was a 2-part thing.
That was before the internet. What? No, I'm just
we talked about it for an hour and a half.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about difficult conversations and how to properly go about that. So I don't want to hash on or to rehash that and harp on it too much.
Right.
Go back and listen.
Right.
I think it'll bless you if you're in that spot where you're like, okay, how do I prevent it?
Right.
Go listen to those episodes because we talked about it in great detail.
Right.
Because like I said, it was like an hour and a half.
Right. Well, and in prevention, I mean, that's not a new word for us, right? I mean, think of the things you do for your health to prevent, something worse happening, or, maybe it's taking in the wintertime extra vitamins to boost your immune system. That's kind of where I'm at, because I'm around a lot of stuff. So I'm taking preventative measures to make sure that doesn't happen. Because here's the thing, bottom line, and not to repeat ourselves, but we're out here, especially as children of God, we're out here trying to be a light and be a witness. And think about it, our coworkers and those people that are around us in those stressful moments, they see some sides of us sometimes. And we have to be careful of that, just because those are the same people that we were just talking about church to a few hours before, right? Not saying we're perfect, and I don't think we need to sell ourselves as we're perfect. I'll be the first to tell the guys that work around me that, hey, I'm human, and but at the same time, there's some things that I have found difficult to backtrack once it's out, once I let it fester to that point. Yeah, I think because of that, it's crazy to me. And like I said, it's probably always been that way, but I guess I notice it more. But, just in traffic, the way people are at the grocery stores, man, I can't even hardly stand to go to the store anymore. Mm-hmm. Just because it's not because I don't like people. It's just, man, everybody is, I don't care if I run over you. Get out of my way. And then if you do hold them up for a second, oh, Lord, it's like the end of the world. And I'm like, just people are walking around all the time. Just, it's almost like they're just ready to explode. Just, you try me, you try me today. Just try me, and it's like, come on, really. We need to release that stuff. It's no way to live. It's no way to live.
Yeah. So, well, and just talking, therapy's been around forever.
Yeah.
And you cannot argue that it's got benefits. And the main thing is because of the fact you're talking about things.
Right.
Like, I'll be honest with you, just us sitting here talking is very therapeutic for me.
Oh, yeah.
It has helped me through a lot. Like, I know, we're having this conversation, and, we're gearing it towards an audience so people can listen and they can learn from it. But I myself have learned from it.
Right.
I've applied things that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I leave like, man, I've come in here sometimes and I've just had a horrible day.
Yeah.
And I leave here feeling better.
Oh, yeah, me
just
too.
because we've talked about things.
Yeah, me too, absolutely.
And so, yeah, I think when you take away the ability to have conversations, mm-hmm. that inevitably happens because there's no way to release it.
Right.
You're talking about going to the grocery store. Man, I think part of the reason that the workforce is the way that it is because people refuse to communicate.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to get in politics or nothing like that, but I can tell you that since what I like to call the TikTokification of America happened, COVID happened.
Yeah.
People's attention spans are not what they used to be.
Oh, yeah.
And so they don't want to sit down and have a conversation. They're glued to a phone screen. There's no way that you can have conversation and talk about things that bother you, things that anger you, things that make you happy. There's no way to have these conversations and to air things out because people have lost the ability to be able to have conversations.
Right.
Now granted, yes, I grew up about the time that the digital age really started booming, mm-hmm. but I was also old enough to where it didn't consume my whole childhood. Like, I knew how to have conversations with people.
Right.
The up and coming generation, everybody's going to a phone, man.
Right.
And I know it's kind of hypocritical being that you're probably watching this from a phone screen or a computer monitor.
Right.
But it's a very real thing.
Mm-hmm.
The people that really blow up, like me, I can tell you, half the reason why I blow up is because I don't talk about it.
Right. The guys are notorious. As men, notorious.
Because I know you had said earlier, talking about having an image to keep and having this,
We got to be strong.
Yeah.
And we grew up, you were talking about the digital age. Well, I grew up in a time where you don't let them see you sweat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a real man is. You don't let them see you hurt. You know what I'm saying? And that gets pounded into people, and you feel like you hold yourself to... We ought to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Please don't misunderstand me. But I think we hold ourselves to a point that we can't reach. And what I mean by that is that we're miserable if we can't. You know what I'm saying? We raise it so high that it's just something we can't do. We can't live perfect, and we cannot carry this. It's going to explode on somebody. Whether that's your spouse, your children, your coworkers, the person who cuts you off in the parking lot or at the stop sign or stoplight or whatever, anything. It's just like, and then all of a sudden it ruins the whole atmosphere changes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever been in an office when somebody loses it, but it's like the whole office changes. Like everybody
you
changes.
can cut the tension with a knife.
Oh, it does. And then the rest of the day is just like going through the motions. It's like, anyway, but it just takes that moment. And a lot of times that's when we say stupid stuff.
Yep.
And we're like, man, if I could only take it back, but the truth is you can't. Once it's out there, it's out there. And so a lot of times you're cleaning up a mess that never had to be.
Yeah. If you had just found a way, some sort of outlet.
Something, right.
To keep that from getting pent up.
Right. And it could just be a brother, a friend. I thank God for the men of God I have in my life that, I feel like I can open up to. And if I'm really struggling with something, I can be honest about it. And like I said, that is hard. I have a heart for the men's ministry, and I can only, and I guess my heart goes to them. And this works for everybody, but for the men especially, like you said, it's just hard for us to open up. And I think it's hard for the women too, because they got a certain image and certain that they got to keep up, and so I know it's hard, but we need to find somebody.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is, I would hope that even if by some crazy happenstance, maybe you don't have family or friends. You should still be in a church body to where you have those around you that you can talk to.
That's why it's so critical.
Absolutely.
It really is critical to be in the house of the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. You can only get so much through, like, I know a lot of churches are doing e-church.
Yeah.
And that's all fine and dandy. Like, I know people do small groups online.
That's right. It has its place.
It does.
Sure.
But when it really comes to connecting with somebody on a personal level and being able to talk about things that are, like I said before, that are bothering you,
right?
Stuff that you normally wouldn't talk about. I'm sorry, I'm not going to have that conversation through a phone screen. I'm just not.
No.
There's something about sitting, no pun intended here, but sitting across the table from somebody,
right,
talking about things. Like, I know that, you and I and really our families, like my wife, your wife, we've went to dinner and just talked about stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it would spark conversations on the way home and just getting together with people who you can talk to without fear of judgment, or, it really does help. It helps tremendously.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's crucial to have that. And so that's why, like you said, it's crucial to be in a church body.
Right.
One that actually you can connect with.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I'm not encouraging anybody to leave a church by any means, but if you're in a church and the only people that you can go to, all they do is backbite and they spread your gossip and all of your drama around the church, I probably wouldn't hang around there. That's just me.
Right.
Just me.
Right.
You can have some of the best music, some of the best preaching.
Right.
If the people that's out in the sanctuary aren't going to do anything to help build you up, which is what the church should do.
Yeah.
There's other issues there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, me personally, I would not hang around. That's just me, though.
Oh no, you got to connect. You got to connect, and I believe there's a place for everybody. And God knows. And if you seek Him, He'll show you. But yeah, you gotta connect. You gotta connect with people. And so if you're one that try not to preach here, but if you're one that comes in, on two wheels, and then you leave while everybody else is praying, and you never take the time to really, build relationships with those people, you'll never reap that benefit. Because I'm telling you, I don't know how many times. The body has got me through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes I didn't even know I was looking for it, but because I was part of it and I was around it, I was like, whoa, And so, it's absolutely important to connect with that and to connect with people that, I know I can come to you and talk to you. Of course, not with cameras in front of us, but I could come to you and talk to you about something. And I know, hey, it's between me and my brother. You know what I mean? And we'll leave there and we'll pray for each other. And that's the kind of relationships you can't just find anywhere.
No.
You can't. And so, and growing up, I had my best friends. I had all this stuff, and I don't take anything away from that. but it's just something about somebody else in the faith, in the body. You know what I'm saying? And you know, just godly men and women that I can go to and talk to, and that ain't afraid to tell me, hey, you did wrong too. You know, you need to, hey, you know, this is how we fix it. Let's start fixing it. You know, but at the same time, man, it's just, we cannot, it is a dangerous thing to walk around triggered.
That's it.
It is a dangerous thing because, you know, if you want to look at the triggered and gun side, you know, somebody's going to get hurt if you keep playing around with that thing loaded, sitting there right in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying?
At some point, it's
you got to
go
secure
off.
it, right?
Yeah.
You got to know, secure it. You got to train. You know, when it comes to that side. So it's the same way with carrying these things. We got to discipline ourselves. There's that word again, man. I'm telling you. I just cannot get it.
It's a word for the year, discipline in 2025.
I was saying it last year. I just can't get away from it. And mostly to me, right? So anyway.
Well, you know, you were talking about the gun thing. I would even argue, change who the recipient of that blow up is. And what I mean by that is there is a force that we cannot see that is behind a lot of it.
Right.
Now, a lot of it's self-inflicted with us. But there are reasons why certain things are bothering you. Sometimes, you know, the Bible says that the kingdom suffers violence and the violence taken by force.
Right.
There is nothing wrong with gearing up and going, hey, you know what? Devil, today ain't the day.
Right.
And since you're gonna make me feel a certain way, we're gonna hash this out right here, and I'm gonna tell you it's not gonna happen anymore.
Right. Right.
There's nothing wrong with having a righteous anger.
That's right.
And pointing that towards where it needs to be pointed. The problem is when you start doing it at the wrong things and at the wrong people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where it comes out. If you let it fester, that's where it comes out. Because I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for me. But every time I've had those blow ups, has been at the people who didn't, which nobody deserves it. But I mean, it comes to the people that mean the most to me a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, and, but yeah, absolutely, man. I want one of them shirts that says "Not today, Satan." I have a friend of mine that wore one. I was like, man, I got to find one of them things. But anyway, I want one of those. And actually, today I had a conversation with a coworker. Said something about the devil's chasing, and I'm like, he ain't ever gonna catch me. You know what I'm saying? And they grinned. You know what I mean? But at that moment, I said, yeah, you're right. I know what you know. I feel you.
Yeah.
And I could have just fell right into it. But I'm like, he ain't going to catch me. And then it's just kind of changed everything, you know, and kind of went on, you know. So, but yeah, we got to realize where he's at. He only has power that I give him.
That's it.
And the same way with your, you know, this being triggered, this weights and all that stuff. Man, they only get a ride if I let them ride. You know what I mean? I lay them off, lay them aside, you know, and man, I want every day to, joy is not laughing all the time. You know, we live in a world that, you know, we're going to experience some heartbreaks and some hurt sometimes and sometimes anger. But it's what you do with that, you know, and just, we got to let that stuff go and realize that no matter what, it's not going to steal my joy in him, you know, and that he can give me peace even in the middle of turmoil. And so, hey, unload that stuff. Don't walk around ready to explode, the short fuse, so to speak. Right?
Yeah.
Say something and they bite your head off. You're like, whoa, what did I do? You know,
it happens.
I've been a recipient too, right?
Yeah. So, we all have. Yeah. We all have. I feel like everybody at some point has been the recipient and also the one. Yep. That's it. Absolutely. That's it. Well, any closing statements or anything before we wrap it up?
Just remember whose you are. Can't say that louder enough. Can't say it, you know, proud enough. Remember whose you are, and just remember who you're representing, and remember that he loves you and he cares for you. So most importantly, keep a healthy relationship with him. Secondly, you know, strengthen your relationships with the body of Christ. Find those people that you can confide in and you can unload, and realize you do not have to carry this stuff alone. Please don't carry that stuff alone, because eventually it's not just hurting those around you. It is hurting you, my friend.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well, I don't really know how to follow that. So Ditto what he said.
Right.
I just, again, my big thing with all of this, and I don't know why, but it just keeps coming back that if you have to absolutely blow up, make sure it's pointed at the right one.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean a person.
Right.
Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood.
Right. Take the face off of it.
Yep.
Amen.
Yep. So, but guys, we love you. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Please comment, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, notification bells, everything that, because the more you comment, the more you engage, the more this gets boosted up into the YouTube algorithms, which means it reaches more people and it just continues to snowball.
That's right.
So,
Amen.
And if there's anything that we can do to help you in your journey in this life, please let us know.
Absolutely.
We would love to connect with you and just to have a conversation with you.
That's right.
But guys, we love you. We'll see you next time.
Guys.
We're praying for you. God bless. Hey guys, real quick before I let you go, this is Worship Pastor Tyler Bowles, and I'm also one of the podcast hosts here. I just want to take a minute to invite you to our services if you're in the Lexington, North Carolina area and you don't already have a home church. We have services on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. We have programs in place for all ages, so please bring your family, tell your neighbors, tell your friends, have them bring their kids. We would love to get to meet you and connect with all of you and partner with you and believe with you for the things that you are believing God for. Because something very powerful happens whenever we gather together in one mind with one accord, because the Bible says then a suddenly happens. And I just want to agree with you and bind together with you for the suddenly moments, for those breakthroughs you may need. So if you were in the Lexington, North Carolina area and you don't already have a home church, the address is 117 Harris Road, Lexington, North Carolina, 27292. Again, that is 117 Harris Road, Lexington, North Carolina, 27292. We would love to see you. We would love to see your family. We would love to get to know you. We love you. We appreciate you. We are praying for you. God bless.